Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for all other colleagues who participate online. Today is I have a special pleasure to introduce my friend and my colleague from Malaysia. It is Azahar. Also, it is very good opportunity for our institute. It's first time we have some guests from that region. So I'm sure that we can hear something interesting, and please be free to ask whatever you like about Malaysia. Today we are time limited, so I'll try to be as short as possible. So just few details about our relationship between Serbia and Malaysia. Everything started in 1976 when the bilateral relationship was established. After that, the trade agreement was signed between Social Federative Republic of Yugoslavia and Malaysia in 1969. Then the agreement of economic and technical cooperation was signed in 1972, and in 2003, Federal Republic of Yugoslavia and Malaysia re-established diplomatic relations. One more thing about this is that the last high-level visit was in September 2011, when the Prime Minister, Mr. Aman, participated in ministerial meeting of non-aligned movement in Belgrade. So, because of time limited, I will give you words now, and please introduce your colleague during your presentation. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my good friend Vlad. I call him Vlad, although I know that there's so many Vladimirs in Serbia, and every time I would say Vladimir, then there'll be 50 people will be looking at me instead. But anyway, I'm so happy to be here. It's a nice invitation from the Institute of European Studies. I'm also have to thank my good friend Zorana for helping me to get the visa to get into Serbia. And today, I'm happy to see some of my friends from different parts of the world, like Eka, Elfrey, Herta. Oh, there's two Herta. And then later, like I have Levida there, Nasirin, Sri Nusanti, Sri Wulan, who's here at the moment. And maybe later you can I can introduce you better, or they can just introduce themselves in order for us to see what's going on. In terms of this, Vlad has told me that I could do some presentation on anything light. So because of anything light, it will be about tourism. And I am happy to tell you that if there is a chance again for us to do another online, even from Malaysia, I wouldn't mind getting my friends from different institutes and faculties looking at how this institute is. It would be much better if there would be some social scientists and historians to talk about different things within the perspective of Malaysia and the relationship that we have with our sovereign nations all over ASEAN as well. For that matter, I am going to start my share, hold on, of my presentation, and hopefully we can, can you see now? Yeah, okay, good. But this one is not the one that is downloaded, so hold on, yeah. Let me see how I can do this. I have to go here. And then going to, where is the, hold on. Okay. Oh. How come there's two? On again, let me see if I can do this. Okay. I will share it, or you want to share it? I will share it, yeah? It is there, right, okay. So anyway, thank you. Can I talk now? Yep, thank you very much for your company today. I have seen a few here in this room. Thank you very much for coming, even though it's short notice from Vlad. I have to introduce myself. I am Azahar from Sarawak, which is the Borneo side of Malaysia. It's interesting when a friend of ours here was asking about Brunei. We can talk about it later. I am an ardent traveler. As a Malaysian who's not being able to travel much, I've been to 76 countries. Not that much, but still, it's okay for me. I love doing volunteer works all over the world, especially in places like Cambodia, Vietnam, and also Japan. Making friends. I have a good friend here. Met in 2017, I think, 2017. I love to do networking with different parts of the world. With that, I go traveling to places like Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan to teach places like Vietnam, Laos, the Philippines, Indonesia to do the same. And I'm into organizing events, especially music events. So I'm hoping to get some local musicians from Serbia to perform in Malaysia one time. Where is Malaysia? I have given you the brochure, so I'm very sure that everybody knows where I am. However, there are two sides of Malaysia. One is the Borneo side and also one in the Peninsula side. Interesting facts, we have 9 sultans and 1 king. And this king is actually being nominated within 5 years. So every sultan will have the opportunity to become the king of Malaysia. However, if the king dies, somebody else will replace him, looking at the seniority of the king, the sultans themselves. We have the largest cave chamber. The cave chamber is in Sarawak, where I'm from. You can put about 12 jumbo jets inside the chamber in the cave. We have the world's oldest tropical rainforest as well. Those who love nature would see us as being something interesting. From where I live and where I work in the university, it takes less than 20 minutes to go to the jungle to find orangutan. So that's how close we are with the nature. Yeah. And of course, incredible lifestyle, wildlife outside of the rainforest. Okay. I am going to show you this data. Hopefully it does work. Hold on. This data comes from ASEAN that shows how many people comes to not only Malaysia, but all over ASEAN. And it's interesting that I found that there are Serbians that come to ASEAN, but not to Malaysia. So a lot of them goes to Indonesia. I'm going to give you this, but it takes some time for the internet to work. As you can see, there's for 2020, unfortunately, that's the information that I received from here. It says that 26.1 million people goes to ASEAN. And if I go here to origin country and I put Serbia, it states here Serbia and Montenegro. Let me see whether it will work. Yeah, Serbia and Montenegro, if I click here, yeah, you can see a big difference where there's people that goes to Cambodia, about 500 people, Myanmar, 100, but interestingly, 1.4 thousand goes to Indonesia. So Malaysia is not the good spot at the moment for this. Let's go back to looking at how things are. A bit of the history of Malaysia. As much as Serbia has also been colonized by different, how can I say, government or country. We were colonized since 1511 from the Portuguese. And after that, Dutch came in, and then the English came until 1942. If you can see, there's a big duration of time for the English to be in Malaysia rather than other places. Again, a lot of things happen. If you want to talk about it, it would be another session, hopefully. But interestingly, in 1942, the Japanese came, and they came by force from Thailand. That's why Thailand is not being occupied by anyone, because they are friendly with everybody, but not for themselves. But 1952, it's only for about 2-3 years that Japan came in, but only in 1957 we had our Peninsular Malaysia independence. So it is an interesting fact that for us, being Sarawak or Borneo, we were not in the Peninsular independence. Only in 1962 that we got our independence from the British colony. And in 1963 is where the Peninsular Malaysia, including Singapore, and then from the Borneo side, Sabah and Sarawak came in, and the combination of it becomes Malaysia. Unfortunately, in 1965, the Chinese in Singapore feels that they need to run away from Malaysia. So in 1965, they left us. We have a lot of world records for this. As you know, a lot of us know where is the Twin Tower. At the moment, the Twin Tower is still the highest tower or the tallest tower in the world for the Twin Tower, not the single tower. Of course, now we have the Burj Khalifa, which is number 1. And at the moment for Malaysia, we are number 1 for Asia, right? So the Malaysian people, we have different dialects. If we are talking about Sarawak itself, where I come from, we have 45 languages being spoken with 120 dialects. So sometimes, even if, for example, I am a ethnic and Vlad is another ethnic, we are the same ethnic, but we speak different dialects. Sometimes we don't understand each other. So for Sabah, it's the same, 50 languages, 90 dialects. But in the peninsula, because more concentration is on the Chinese, the Indian and the Malays, they have only 10 languages that are spoken with 30 different dialects. Yeah. So the population of Malaysia for 2022, as you can see here, citizens, 30.2 million. Yeah, but if you look at that, we have the non-citizen, 2.4 billion. Yeah, and actually, if you look at it again, there's also this estimation of 2.7 million people in Malaysia, roughly about 3 million that are not saying registered, but we know that they are there. But a lot of them comes from the neighboring countries in Malaysia. The annual population growth is only 0.2, but luckily, because of COVID, more babies are turning up because of COVID. It's something that maybe even in Serbia, the age that we have, the 60 years and over, you can see by 2022, there's about 3.6 million people. Yeah. And then this is something that you asked me earlier. The Chinese people, it's 22.8%. Compared to Indians, it's about 6.6. And then the others is 0.7, making Bumiputra, meaning Malay, and the ethnic groups in Sabah and Sarawak for 69.9%. Yeah, and the ratio for male and female, this is unfortunate as well. If you go to universities in Malaysia, you find a lot of, this is nothing to do with sex, but however, if you see the population of universities in Malaysia, there are more ladies studying rather than men. I don't know about here, but over there, 17 million population again, 17 million male, 15 million female, or 15.7 million female. And it goes by virtue that people are saying that there are more girls in this world, but actually more men in this world for Malaysians. Yeah. If you look at the universities ranking, unfortunately, my university is not in the rank. So we have to work hard for it. But for this is under THE ranking. We have Universiti Malaya, which is under 301 to 350. We have another, this is a private university, but Petronas, if you look at F1 and so on, these are the oil company. That oil company created, established a university, and you can see 501 to 600, Universiti Kebangsaan, 601 and 800, UPM is the same as the USM. So at the moment, we are still not in the first 100. We are working hard for it, but it will be difficult because our salary is not as attractive as others like Singapore or Japan, where they would pay much more for the professors to get into. The creations, I don't want to go for creation, but we have two things that I need to share with you. Do you know your pen drive? It's created from a Malaysian professor. So there are, but there is a YouTube that you can watch. Perhaps you can see this later, where you can see what's going on over there. And as for tourism, many people don't see this coming, where I'm talking about accommodation, accessibility, amenities, attractions, and activities, which comes in as a system. If you don't have one, the system will change because you cannot get more people coming in. Like, for example, my access to Serbia, there's no direct flight to Serbia. So I have to find other ways to come in. So the accessibility also means that I have to have a visa, and a visa takes about 1 or 2 months to get as well. So I cannot make it earlier than that. This is very important if we are going to get, I know there's a lot of young people from Serbia that travels around the world, but access to this is difficult for us to get into, to get Serbians to come into Malaysia. Classifications of tourism. For nature, we have all this. We have the farm tourism. I think it's a good way of showing to people how we make our ends meet. We have village tourism. Unfortunately, this is not a photo of my country. It is a photo of Laos. Yeah, agro-tourism, bird watching, and mountain tourism. Not for skiing, but for just climbing. We have this classification of tourism under culture, which is faith tourism. Since we have a lot of Chinese in Malaysia, we have a lot of their temples. And these temples are created simply because of the social network that they have, not the social network per se now, but social network as what they have for the beliefs. So more people are traveling from one temple to one temple to see the big difference in terms of architecture, in terms of the nitty-gritty of the lifestyle of the people over there. Cultural tourism, as I said, that 69.9% of the Bumiputras, or the prince of the land, we call it Bumiputra. So culturally, we are being cherished by many things that happens, and that's where the intercultural relationship are created. We have the heritage tourism, although we do not have that. You have a very strong heritage in Serbia, and for us, it started only in 1963, so it's still young. So we don't have buildings such as this one that is about nearly 100 years, and we cannot show to people how our civilization works, because like before, we were using wood instead of bricks. Yeah. Silk Road tourism, of course, this happens everywhere around Middle Asia and coming to Malaysia, and also festival tourism. We have one music festival that's very famous at the moment. It's called Rainforest World Music Festival, where we get people from all over the world to perform. It's always in July. One reason why it's in July was because when we look at the statistics, we studied the statistics in Malaysia, and we found that July has always been the lowest tourist arrival. So we came up with this idea of having this event, and now it's the highest statistics for Malaysia. And of course, for classification of tourism education, we know conferences. I came in for the conference for the faculty. We have school trips, we have youth tourism, and we have the Congress. And there's hobbies which are very interesting, as shopping is something that is, like at the moment, Singapore is having their year-end sale. And it's in conjunction with the F1 in Singapore. And of course, in Singapore as well, they try to do it differently. They do it at night, which is very interesting because we are a very hot country. It's nice to be here, not to use the aircon in Malaysia. Normally in universities, it's always 16 degrees for all rooms. We are used to it. So I'm used to walking like this with only my shirt this way. But it would be difficult maybe, but I don't know how. But shopping in Malaysia sometimes means that if you are from Europe, you have to have another jacket to get into the shopping malls. We have it very, very cold. But 16 is not that cold, but anyway, it's cold enough. Golfing is another venture that we do. It's cheaper to play golf in Malaysia than doing it in Singapore because of their currency. Very strong at the moment. We are being affected by the Russian-Ukraine war, where our money is, how can I say, not being appreciated that much. I think it's all over the world. Yeah. Caving is another way of looking at things. I don't know whether, do you have caves?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Knife caves. Okay, good. So maybe we can exchange our caving experience if you can come to Malaysia. Fishing is another thing that we do. As you know that for Borneo, it is a big island, so fish is everywhere. It can be either from the river or from the sea. And also music. Benefits of tourism that I can see happening would be things like it's a better community for residents. I believe that rather than having Hilton, we should have something local, something that people can experience, and then the money goes straight to the people rather than the corporations. Creation of jobs is something that we are striving into. Unfortunately for this COVID, because we are solely dependent on foreign workers. Because of COVID, we have to send them back. So now we are experiencing a bit of problem with HR within the community. More creative and entrepreneurial. People are being more creative. Things like, for example, this is created by me, for example. It is a woven natural, over here is called a rattan. Do you know what is a rattan? Like a bamboo, different types of bamboo. And I got people from the single mothers to help me out with creating this. And then we use the objective like the one village, one product, where one village is only doing certain things, not the whole lot. So this comes in with 42 different villages to come up with this, so that the creation of part-time job, not full-time jobs, are created for single women. Yeah, opportunities for all, where it is not only that for us, it is different from maybe different countries or different parts of Malaysia, where we give opportunities, and it's not only meant for only ladies, we also give things for men as well. To harvest rattan takes time, so that would mean that they will have to do different corporations to get the rattan. More peaceful and more tolerant. Tourism has always been a key for people to get to understand better about different cultures, more tolerant perhaps, and we are also preserving heritage. These natural resources that we have means that we are informing people to be sustainable rather than using plastics. Preserving the wildlife that we love. It's important to, I'm surprised that you have a zoo in Serbia and only one muyar. Is it muyar? The alligator, is it still muyar, yeah? Yeah. Yes. Still alive, yeah? And I hope, I think he needs a mate. He needs to have a spouse. So please, if you have a chance to work something out, we have maybe 5,000 crocodiles, but he's an alligator. I don't know how to go about it. There you go. Germany, yeah. Wow. It's interesting. Wow. And people are saying that they don't know whether he's alive or not because he stays. He doesn't move. And then fueling the adoption of sustainable technology, where innovation is very important in tourism. This is something that we are looking into as well, which is MICE plus E. So you know what is meetings, incentive, conference and exhibition, but we add in another E, which is the events that we are doing. Yeah. So so this is an alternative to, if we don't have anything that we can do as to create a destination, we create MICE, not the rats, but something else. There is a statistics of world tourist arrivals. I just want to get into this so that you can see how people are moving from, hopefully I can show you this, yeah? It takes time, so sorry for those who are in Indonesia. Please wait for a while. Okay. As you know, the tourist arrivals are always in France. Yeah, but I'm showing you this so that you can see the dynamics of what happens from 2007 to 2018, where China, being the best producer in tourists, still lacking when it comes to getting more people coming in. Yeah. So, okay, that's about it. If you want to know more, there's always the internet that you can use for this. So let's go to here. So I'm having some friends from Indonesia trying to find out about fundings, and you know, it's very difficult to come up with the facilities in order to get tourists to come in. But in a way as well, as much as the politicians wanted to show off that they are building something for the citizens, they are also building it for the tourists. Although tourists are temporary, but they come in as a user, although they are not there for a long time, but it gives the opportunity for the citizens to experience international facilities like shopping malls and so on, so that other people can come in. So they have to think about how to to have annual budgets to cater to tourists. We just had our Malaysian budget presentation by the minister on how to move forward, and he has given always about 20 to 30% more of the budget, national budget, towards tourists or tourism sector. There's always G2G grants that we can use, financial institutions, and also private sector initiatives. But I don't know whether my friend is here because we are talking about the Delta thing. Company, yeah? Yep. And then this is something that I need the people that are online to think about, is that there are over 1.4 billion tourists arriving at their destination every year, 1.4 billion, which is about the same as the population of India or China. And how are we going to accept or reject tourists coming in? And that means that there's 45 arrivals every single second, 45 tourist arrivals. So I think that's about it at the moment. And let's try to discuss on some issues in Malaysia and maybe other parts of where we can try and find out things. So can I stop sharing, yeah? Is there any... Thank you. Good. There's more people coming in. Yep. Right. Okay, good. For those who have questions on the web, you can always chat, and then we will try to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to hear you. My name is Rajko Petrovic. I'm working here at the Institute of European Studies. And I have two questions.
Okay.
The first one is about relations between Malaysia and China and Malaysia and India, because Malaysia has enormous population of Chinese and Indian people, around 20% of Chinese and 7, 8, 9% of Indians. And the second question is about, if you know something about that, relations between Malaysia and Bosnia and Herzegovina, because I know that, for example, many politicians of Muslim religion from Bosnia and Herzegovina have finished their studies in Malaysia. And Malaysia is investing a lot with Bosnia and Herzegovina. So do you know something more about those relations? And thank you once again.
Thank you very much for that question. It's a good question. I will tell you from my experience, not from what I read, because I don't read much about relationships. However, the Malaysia and China relationship, at the moment, as you can see, it's very formal. We try to come again. If you're looking for Malaysians going to China for certain reasons, if it is touristic, you still have a visa. It's just like coming to Serbia. It is not like because they are Chinese descendants, they can just go back, or they can visit the country. We have a very good economic relationship in terms of imports and exports between two nations. The government are looking at ways on how to get more investments into Malaysia. However, during some political differences and so on, we try to control the investments coming in from China. We have one particular development that was done somewhere near Singapore, where it has been stopped. I think it's billions of dollars have been invested. However, it didn't go through because of the change of government. One reason was because we saw the investment that was done in different parts of other ASEAN countries where the benefits were more towards China than the country itself. For example, if you are looking at Cambodia, where they have this thing called Sihanoukville. That's the only one chunk of a small land that has the beach access that was given to the Chinese contractors to come up with some developments. However, the experience that they had was, rather than having the locals to work for construction, there is like a very small little statements that says that they would bring in Chinese people from China to assist the construction. And because of that, the local people are running away. The locals are running away from that area because there was too many Chinese. The other thing that I could, if I could share, would be another example where, if you know the Angkor Wat, one of the ancient civilization area, Buddhist area, where the Chinese has bought a big land just next to it to come up with a casino. So it was such a big issue. But again, you know, it depends on who are the politicians that can control or not control. But in Malaysia at the moment, they still invest, but we are monitoring them, how much and so on, because we do not want to have the similar experience of what is already happening in Cambodia. When we come to India, the migration of Indians coming into Malaysia last time during the British colonial era was to look after the rubber plantations. To look at the rubber plantations. If it is Chinese, it's about mining. They have this good experience in mining, so we got them. The British people got them in, and that's how we get the Indians to come in to produce latex for the rubber industry. The relationship that we have with India is very strong. Again, if you want to go to India, we still have to go for visa. Those two countries, although there are so many in Malaysia, yes, as long as they are Malaysians. Yeah, it's good to give a reminder that whoever comes into Malaysia before 31st of August 1957, they are automatically being regarded as Malaysian. By saying that, we have schools using Indian or Tamil languages in Malaysia, quite a lot. We have more people because of that 22.2% Chinese. So we have more Chinese school or with Chinese language in Malaysia. For example, even my son comes from a Chinese school, although I'm a Malay. It's not like you have to be Chinese to get into a Chinese school. It's because of the options that you have, either to go to a Chinese or Indian school or a national school to get your education. We also do have some, what do you call that, economies through exports and imports with India. But we have to be, there are certain things that in India that we need to understand as well. Indians, for example, do not consider killing cows as part of their life because it's very holy. So I'm just giving you this example because we are using, we import a lot of buffalo, water buffaloes from India, the meat, to come into Malaysia, but not beef. We got them more from Australia instead. There was a question on Malaysia and Bosnia. It was something that we did in 1990s, where during the war, we flew in 3 or 4 planes from Malaysia to bring in Bosnians to Malaysia and also give them citizenship. and also education opportunities in Malaysia, especially in one university called Islamic International University in Malaysia. Yes, and there is although I'm just saying if it is 4 times 300, it's only about 1,200 people, but I don't know where they are. But these educated people, either they are still in Malaysia or they went back to Bosnia. That's all I can tell you. Yep. Right. Is there a question? Right. Yes. It is. Oh, okay. Hendra Manurum from Indonesia, hopefully. From Shaik University. Okay. How Malaysia Tourism Board optimizes its tourism investment and financial digital utilization, particularly in empowering local people, economy in tourism destination. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Pak Hendra. I still need to see this. Anyway, it's okay, I can see it now. Pak Hendra, you are asking whether the Malaysia Tourism Board optimizes its tourism investment. Yes, it is something that is happening at the moment. But again, if you realize that at the moment you can see there is a federal one, which is the Malaysian Tourism Board. And there is also another one which is called Sarawak Tourism Board. One is the state and one is the federal. But what we're doing is they are going parallel in promoting. Sometimes if we feel that they are the federal government does not do much, then we come in with either the funding to get people to understand financially, because you are talking about digital utilization. Fortunately enough, COVID happened when we knew about internet. And it's unthinkable if COVID happens in 1990s, where internet was not that strong enough, people might not know about it and so on. But that gives the opportunity for people to learn about how to use the mobile phone, the internet. However, accessibility is the other area that we need to think. 5G is a talk among everybody, but 5G has not realized yet. We have the 4G, but unfortunately for us, being in the jungle, or not the jungle, but if you see later, if I show you some of our cities, you can see that we have the jungle. It's either the city in the jungle or the jungle in the city. We have it that way so that we have that access where we need to clear our conscience about heritage and how we are going about it. So we're talking about empowering local people. Yes, I'm not too sure about over here, but the Faculty of Economics and Business from where Zorana works, I have not done so much of the interactions between my e-wallet, if there is a word for e-wallet in this country, because I use credit cards instead. But in Malaysia, and of course, even in Indonesia, you have so many different things that are there for everyone to use and make use of the opportunity for businesses, either for tourism or for entrepreneurship. Thank you, Pak Hendra. Yes. Any other questions? Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the very interesting presentation. I would just have one question regarding the migration. Actually, we were talking about travels,
the Indian migrants in the past. But I was interested whether Malaysia has migration in the present day. You know, for example, I work in the field of migration as well. So occasionally we have a large number of migrants from Myanmar. So I was wondering if Malaysia shares the same, let's call it the same fate as this part of the world.
Right. Thank you very much for that question. I think Myanmar has been another part of where it has contributed to migration, either to Malaysia or even to Bangladesh because it's nearer. And we have to understand why they migrated. One of the reasons is because of ethnic cleansing among the Buddhists in Myanmar. Yeah, where and it looks like they have, in a way, where they need to move is to find peace or to find security to themselves. In Malaysia, likewise in your country, we do have Myanmarese that came in as either as a refugee or illegally. In order to come to Malaysia, they have to go through Thailand first before they can come in. Definitely, of course, if they want to come to Serbia, they have to go through more countries to get to their security. Whereas we do have, it's a large number of Myanmars coming in, but we are not only looking at Myanmar, we are looking at Indians who are illegal, Bangladeshis, Pakistanis, because if they come to Malaysia, they look the same as us. So we don't know who they are until they speak to us. Only then we know that they are not Malaysian. But there are incidences, either in negative or positive, where migration creates insecurity towards the local people. Yes, true. Yes, yeah, and I have experienced them in one of the is it institute or faculty of economics. Whenever I go to the private waterfront, I can see a lot of them there. Yes.
Just to add, that park is now popularly known as Afghani Park due to the migrants.
And I feel the same way when I cross, because of me being like this, people would look at me a bit differently as well. So I can't just show to them, hey, I'm Malaysian instead. But I hope that you can't see any Malaysians there, because I think migration of Malaysians, if they are, would be places like strictly going to the UK, because we don't need visas to go to the UK. Because of our Commonwealth arrangements. And sorry? Yeah, and yeah, it is expensive. Yeah, any EU countries, we can just get in without any visa. We are number 5 powerful passports in the world at the moment. So I'm happy that I have that, but I wish that one day Serbia can accept Malaysians to come in, either for education or for businesses, because I do feel that there's a lot of opportunities for us to work together in these instances. By next year, when I am here, hopefully there will be an activity that I am doing with the Embassy of Malaysia. And of course, Vlad was there when we went in a few days ago. And they were the ones that suggested that there should be some activities. And perhaps during that time, you can experience something different from Malaysia as well. Thank you. Oh, there's another question. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? You are free to ask since I'm here, and it's still 11:05.
Dear Professor, I want to thank you for this opportunity and this brief lessons about Malaysia. We don't know, and that's really shameful because we don't know too much details about this very interesting country. I want to ask you about two questions actually. First is about the relations. You mentioned that Malaysia was part of a Commonwealth. I would like to ask you about relations between London and Malaysia.
Okay.
How you perceive the processes since independence from 1960s to nowadays. Second question is about political system in Malaysia. What is the relation between center and the federal parts? What is the main political parties there? I read in this brochure that Malaysia is parliamentary democracy with prime minister and so on, like modern countries. And third question, actually, I have three questions.
Okay.
Third question is about deforestation in Borneo. What is about that problem? How it reflects on tourism, and what Malaysia do in terms of fulfilling the agenda 2030. Our friend Vladimir wrote one very interesting article about Serbian experience in that field. I would like to ask you about this Malaysian experience.
Right.
So thank you very much. Again.
Thank you very much, then, Andre. It's a good set of questions, and I will try my best to look at how I can go over with the three questions. The first one is about Commonwealth. Commonwealth is a group of countries either being colonized or they volunteered to become a Commonwealth member. So it is not about only colonization; it's about trying to take advantage of being in a group of countries that was led by the UK. London and Malaysia, we had, hate and love relationship. The hate is always about if there are some discrimination and so on. The love is when you give a lot of opportunities for certain things. So if you look at Malaysia before this, before 1990s, we had our policy in Malaysia is we sent our students abroad to studies. Like for example, for myself, being in Malaysia and in a government university, the first thing that the government was doing was to look at how we can send me to England to study. That's what I did, to England to study, because when I got back, I will give that experience when I was in England to the locals so that the locals do not have to go out to study. And because of that, the tuition fees. Yeah, I'm giving you all this experience so that you can understand a bit better. So the tuition fee during that time, I was too young for 1990s to go there. No, 1980s to go there. It was about half, which is about the same as the local people. It was about 1,000 to 2,000 pounds to get in. But something happened along the way where Margaret Thatcher believed that those Commonwealth countries would not have, they cannot gain anything because more people were sent, either from here, from Malaysia, from Australia, and so on. So they decided that you are Commonwealth community, but you have to pay the foreign price. By saying foreign price, we send about 10,000 people, students to the UK to study. And that's a lot of money. Rather than having it 2,000, it became 5,000. So they got extra money, and that does not include even accommodation. So when we talk about this, so we had some hate relationship where it's good for imports, it's good for exports, but we have problems with the education system because we rely more on the British side before we opted for Japan, and because we had a policy to go to Japan or Korea to study before that. So that relationship was very sour. One of those things that happened as well, there's a company called Sime Darby that looks after plantation in Malaysia. And 51% was British owned, but the government had to do some strategies to get to more monopolize the company in order for it to become Malaysian. So that's the relationship. It's good for exports and imports, but there are other things that happens during that time. Politically in Malaysia, what is federal and what is state? Okay. As I said earlier, there's 9 states with sultans. And these 9 states are in the peninsular Malaysia.
And they are monarchs.
They have monarchs. They have monarchs. And the other parts, the Sabah, Sarawak, which is in Borneo, and there is a Malacca and also Penang that's in the federal state that has no sultan, but we give them these governor titles. They are not bloodline, but they are being selected by the group of these sultans. Okay, so that's one thing. However, and again, it's being 5 years, but they can give orders like, you can become if it is in England, it's Sir. In Malaysia, it's called Datuk. You have Datuk, Tan Sri Earl, and so on within that area, where even if they are not bloodline, they can still give that honor to these people. Why federal? Federal, again, is about the Kuala Lumpur and the Peninsular Malaysia. When we created Malaysia in 1963, we said that there is Sabah, Sarawak, which is one third, and 1/3. Yeah, not 1/3, but 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and in the peninsula, 1/3 as well. So everything that is supposed to be there should be divided into 1/3. However, it was not done that way. That's when there's an uprising of Sabah and Sarawak stating that from now on, 2020, we need to get you to give us back what you have owed us since 1963. When we say about federal as well, the Prime Minister is from the federal. He has the authority for education. But for local developments, it has to be from the state. So for example, I am actually from Kuala Lumpur, but I've worked in the university for the past 29 years. I have to get myself a working permit to work in Sarawak, although it is in my own country. I have to have a working permit. One of the 20 regulations that are created during 1963 is that migration from the peninsula has to be monitored by the state. So the state of Sarawak. So there's, again, love and hate relationship between those two. And even for when Mr. I forgot his name again, Pak Hendra or Mr. Hendra asked me about the tourism promotion. We have our own state tourism board instead of federal. Because sometimes federal only looks after the peninsula, but not Sarawak and Sabah, which is in the Borneo side. I hope that you can answer. The third question, yes. Yes. A good question coming from deforestation. This was asked by Vlad when it comes to deforestation. We need to survive. In order to survive, we need to do certain things. Of course, before 2000, there was a lot of deforestation happens for logging, for timber. However, we tried to come up with a solution where we wanted to do something which is still plant-based, but we use palm oil or oil palm instead. It is not being recognized or by the EU. They were saying that it's not good, blah, 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 blah. But we need to develop ourselves to become as standard as anybody else. It is our own opinion that in order to do that, we cannot wait until America comes in and give us something, or the British comes in and give us something. One of the things that that happened in the 1990s was we had this thing. We opened up a reservoir, which is one of the biggest reservoir, which entails that we need to move the people that lives there to another resettlement. At the same time, we also have to move some of the animals there to other places. But if you see from the brochure that I have for you guys, you can see we are a very big state. I don't know how big it is compared to Serbia. However, so what we did with that is that we wanted our people to have access to electricity. That was our concern. But the British says, oh, we are not supposed to develop because
4 times bigger and 5 times bigger population.
Yeah, true. But again, in Sarawak, although we are bigger, we only have 2 million people in my state. But of course, concentration is more on the peninsula. Yeah, so we are together in the same. Yeah, but as I said, when it comes to deforestation, of course, we are mixed feelings. First, because who wants to have a house that has no electricity? In order to have that happening, we have to do it in the forest. In order because the population is spread, not only at the cities but also in the in the rural areas. But the bigger countries like the UK were saying, "Oh, why?" But they have done so much damage to their country before, but we were not able to say anything because there was no internet. You can't be pressuring them, and if you pressure them to go to those places, would take so much time. So again, by saying this, we try as much as possible to work with them. At the moment, people are begging, "Hey, you have oil, cooking oil, please sell us." Only when we have some problems like this. Before, even if you see certain programs like Shark Tank and so on, they always say, "Oh, we are not using palm oil for certain stuff and so on." But now, even in Indonesia, they have problems where the president of Indonesia was saying, people from Europe are now calling him, asking for some oil. Not oil for the gas, but oil for cooking. So there are some differences in that. And you are talking about the SDG, and we are working hard for this. We have plans either from the state side for 2030 for my state, and we have plans for the federal side for the whole country to look after this issue on SDG. Yes. No problem.
And one question about this oil production.
Yes.
Is that the field of federation or the sultan?
Okay. Good question. Because okay. Yeah.
And just one more question. It's about oil issue. Is the oil production the field of sultans and states or the federal state? So
right. Thank you very much for that question. As you know, I have talked about the rulers of Malaysia. Yeah. Right. The rulers of Malaysia, you know that we have sultans, but sultans do not have power. Sultan only has power for religious purpose, only religious purpose. So for example, if they want to create a fatwa on certain regulations within Islam, they are the ones that would say yes or no, not the prime minister, because or the politicians. It has to be from the Sultan because they are the guardian of the religion in Malaysia. Okay, so that goes away very well with the question on whether they have power. They are rich, but they are not powerful in terms of other things except for Islam, not other religions as well. If it is Hindu or Christianity and so on, they are not. For that matter, in Sarawak, we have 70% or 65% Christians, and Muslims are minority in my state. So it's a bit different from the rest. And I can give you an example where we have a church and a mosque side by side. Because of our interactions, on Fridays, the church will open their door so that we can park our cars at the church. The same goes if it is on Sunday, we open our doors so that the Christians can park at our place in order to, so the diversity and the understanding is there in Sarawak. The question, okay, palm oil is by the ministry. So it's by the there's a minister that look at trade, and also for plantation which is under agriculture. Because Malaysia, comparatively to Indonesia, we are much smaller than Indonesia. So what's happening now is that in the early 1990s, we have to work with Indonesia to plot their land to become agricultural space for us to come up with this palm oil. So it's going to be an interesting discussion if you ask me more questions on this, because, for example, we practice things like open burning. After 5 to 10 years, if a tree is not productive, we burn them in order, we as in either Malaysia or Indonesia will be doing that, and it causes some uncomfortness among the countries around us, especially Singapore, because they don't have anything. They have the services, but they don't have anything else. They look at that as their way of producing their own things. That there are questions. Good. Dr. Azahar, I would like to know your point of view on the future of tourism. Oh, wow, he's into tourism. Good. Is due to global economic uncertainties, global recession, food crisis, energy crisis as happens in Europe. Okay. Thank you very much, Pak Hendra, again. It is a good question. I will go back to your question later, yeah? Visions with the global, okay. Are we affected by the war? We are, but not in the sense of security. Food security, yes, but for security itself, no, because it's quite far. And again, we are friends with so many other countries that might want to assist us if anything happens. Malaysia does not, we do not have any issues with Russia. We have no issues with Ukraine, although we have some issues during the time when they shoot or they shot our airplane in 2003 or 4. Oh, no, 2011 or 12 or something. I forgot. But anyway, yes, that's the time when we were shocked. But anyway, we were doing it again. We love discussions rather than having to shoot people. We love to have negotiations rather than that. Coming back to Mr. Hendra, he's asking whether, when we talk about tourism now is supported by local people going to local places rather than international people coming in to travel to our countries. Especially when places like last time, even Indonesia, we had problems getting, Malaysians are having problems into Indonesia because first they need to see the PCR test. they need to you have to have insurances and so on. But now they have relaxed because we were not giving them that kind of regulations if they want to come to Malaysia. Food crisis, there would be one if we do not work hard to come up with our own production of food. Energy crisis, again, people are looking at hybrid engines. We look at how we can use electricity instead and so on. It's happening now in European countries such as the UK. Yes, other countries, they are affected because first, they solely look at Russia as being part of getting their energy, especially when we are getting to winter time, heating and so on is very difficult. Then yes, they have problems in that. But again, Pak Hendra, I think innovatively we are coming up with solutions among ourselves on how we can get our electricity, get our heating done and so on. Hopefully in Serbia as well, you will have your own regulations when it comes to solar power and and maybe some wind turbine in order for you to access some alternative power within Serbia. So I hope that helps then. See you in Malaysia and Indonesia next time. Okay, thank you very much. Coming back to you, it is difficult for us to come up with solutions if it is only looking at our country itself. We have to look at our counterparts in order for us to survive. If we're saying that we are the best country, then we are also in need of supporters from different parts of the world, either directly or indirectly, to make our lives better. For me, it's if we don't have that kind of interactions, either among politicians or among ourselves, we would have problems with a lot of things. I'm sure with the technology that we have and so on, and the creation of different apps and so on, there should be a way where we can still live, although it is a limited living. It is not a new normal now. People are coming back to become what they are. But, as even for myself, coming into Europe, I stopped wearing masks when I was on my way from Bangkok to Austria. Because everybody else doesn't wear it, I don't want to be the odd one. So I have to observe, communicate, and even imitate in order for me to become one of the people that was there during that time. So in Malaysia, we have relaxed some of the regulations. But in Jakarta, for example, people are still wearing masks. But when I was in Lombok, no masks. So it depends on where you are as well. Even in the same country, it will be different. Oh,
I'm a bit inspired.
Good. I'm happy that you are asking questions.
Well, actually, I would like to thank also Vladimir because I know that he is a good presenter of our tourist attractions, especially social ones. and I would like to ask you about Bornean separatism. Does it exist? What's about relations between Borneo side and this mainland? So yes,
Right.
So this is my last question. I didn't like.
No. We can have extra sessions later.
Yes.
It is very important for people to understand that we have this Malaysia Agreement in 1963, where it was stated, and I can give you even the documents that listed what are the agreements on. Again, as I take 1/3, which again was not being practiced for 30 years or 40 years. And because we do not have access to those documents. So, okay. So, if we look back at how this, we do not want to be out of Malaysia. Even for Sabah, for example, the Philippines are now asking, hey, this is my land, I want it back. The Philippines, especially the Suluk area, then the southern part of the Philippines, were asking about, we need it back. But there was no document saying that it was them or theirs. There's none. So even if I may share later about one small island in Sabah and Indonesia, where it's supposed to be both countries within one very small island, not only in Sabah, the Borneo side, but that side. But if you look at historically, Borneo came from the word Brunei. Yeah, it was that way where Brunei was a bigger civilization, and then it was being separated. I can show you some of the maps as well to show that it has been separated because of certain things like kingdoms and so on. Brunei was. They tried to negotiate with us to become Malaysia, but at the same time, during that time, Indonesia was very powerful enough to say, oh, we have to do something, and it's called Ganyang Malaysia, where Ganyang Malaysia means that just destroy Malaysia as it is, because Sabah and Sarawak, or even Peninsular Malaysia, doesn't want to work together with Indonesia to become Indonesia Raya. Sukarno was the one that wanted this change. However, we believe that during that time, we need to be a new nation. We do, because Indonesia was an independent country years before 1947. So ours was 1957, and that was the time when they were saying, oh, we are already here, why don't you come in? Because we speak the same language, Brunei speaks the same language, why not we work together? So there are some readings that I can give you so that you can see this, or you can understand this. But when it comes to Borneo, the Sarawak and Sabah, politically now, we are asking for even, again, one third to be in the parliament. At the moment, it's not. So if it is that way, then there's a major change in how things will work for the next election. The next election, the government was saying is in November, but we don't know when. It can be this year. Because again, this government at present was not a government that was selected by the people. Was selected because we need to survive the pandemic. Yeah, 2018. State of emergency was 2020, but then 2018 the new government was formed. It was formed after 66 years of one group of people, one group of politicians wanted to govern Malaysia, but only in 2018 we changed the government. And by changing the government, it was a shock even for them to know that they won. That's how it was.
Are they organized in one political party or?
It's a combination of parties that work together. Yeah. So in 2020, because of this lobbying and so on, the Prime Minister of 2018 was saying, oh, I can't take it. He's 63 years old, 93 years old. He's now 97 years old. And he's still alive, and he has all the brains in the world to think. He never, how can I say this? I'm not a fan of him. I'm not saying that I'm a pro for him, or I'm a contra for him, but he is the one that developed Malaysia as it was, because he was the second Prime Minister again at the same time. He was the Prime Minister for 22 years. He relaxed for 12 years or something, then he came back. Imagine, as a 93-year-old Prime Minister. And he still rides bicycle, he has all the policies in his head, and so on.
Biden.
Sorry?
Much better than Biden.
He's better than Biden. He rides horses now and so on. And people like the Queen, but the Queen died earlier. Yeah, so he's still alive, and I'm happy that he's still alive. He's in good shape because he's a medical doctor. So he knows what he needs for his body. But anyway, what happened was when he left, then the Deputy Prime Minister came up, and there was some strategies that he did where he also worked for 12 months or 14 months, and then he resigned. But because the Constitution says it's every 5 years. So that's when a new Prime Minister came in, but it has to be from the opposition and also from him in order for him to get that 110 votes to become the Prime Minister. We have 220 seats, and it has to be 110 in order for him to get that majority vote. And to become a Prime Minister, he has to go to the King to get the blessing, just like the British system as well. That's how. Yes. Yes. Is there another question? No, yeah? Right, okay. Right. Any question from that side? No, that's it. No. You can ask, and again, I am not a social scientist, but I experience things from reading and from talking to people. No problem. No problem. It might not be popular for what I'm saying. If there are Malaysians here, I am not a popular person if I said what I said, but that's how I feel that I should be saying. Yes. Mm-hmm. No problem. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Let's finish. We have a next events in a few minutes. So, Azahar, what to say? Thank you for coming. I think that we can hear something interesting, some new things, and your experience is very good and very useful for us. And thank you very much. So, thank you all people who comes and all others online, and see you next year. I hope you will come, and maybe you will. We already discussed about expanding our cooperation with the embassy and with other faculty. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.